Hello, I'm Joe from Carême cooking classes, and today we're making Bob's birthday cake. Well, Bob had a birthday recently, and I made him a cake, and I thought that would be fun to make a video of. So it's really easy, and we'll do it, eh? All right, so here we go. Birthday cake for Bob. Bob turned 90, so we had to make a cake, didn't we? Now, the first thing we have to do, the recipe said buttermilk, but I never use buttermilk because I never have it. So I use normal milk, which I've actually measured it out. Secretly, I measured it out beforehand, and I warmed it up very slightly, just to make it just a little bit, sort of just below blood heat. And I'm putting in a little lemon juice, stirring it up carefully, and that's going to be my buttermilk. I'll leave it while we get the other stuff ready, and then it'll be ready. That's what I always do, and it always works well, so don't worry. Okay, and the other thing we need to do to prepare it is to line our tin. It's some baking paper, because this is a very wet mixture, and you do not want it to run all through your oven. This makes a small cake. As I said, Bob was 90, and so he wasn't expecting a lot of people around, just a few family. So it will cut, it's going to have layers of icing in it, but it cut into about 12. It's just nice, 12 smallish pieces. Nice cake. So you want to have it lined with one piece of paper, so that, baking paper, so that it won't leak, because I'm using a springform tin. And I haven't even got the big stove on today. I'm using the little stove, which is in the pantry. It's and that's heated up. I've got that heated to 165. Every oven is different, but for this one it's 165. That's ready. Out of the way. There we go. Now we're ready. Okay, now this bowl. Where's my instructions? Okay. Number 1, buttermilk and line the tin. Done. Number 2, measure out flour. I want 112 grams. This is a division of a bigger cake. 112 grams of plain flour and 112 of self-raising, making 225. You can, of course, use 225 of plain flour and put in some baking powder. But I like self-raising flour. I find it gives a good result. I find it more reliable as long as the self-raising flour is fresh. But this is fresh. So make that up to 225. Also, my mother used it, and she was a good cook. So there you go. Flours, 2 flours, caster sugar, staggering amount of caster sugar, I'm sorry to say. It's a birthday cake, so it's once a year. 360 grams. Ooh, don't tell Bob. Now, we don't want this is caster sugar, they have lumps in it. Annoying. Startling amount, isn't it? Oh, more. Yes. There we go. And cocoa, 88 grams. I mean, you could round these up, make it 90. It shouldn't work in this bowl. That's what I did it in last time. It looks like it's going to be quite big though, doesn't it? Okay. And then we want some baking soda and salt. Now these ones I definitely want to sift. Lumps of baking soda. Ooh. And I want 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. This anyone who knows me at all knows that I slightly guess a bit. But the guessing is not quite as inaccurate as it might appear. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Things with cocoa-y and chocolatey things often have some salt in it. Brings out the flavour. Now we want to mix those up a bit. See our buttermilk working away there. tiny little lumps. Actually, that's salt, I think, but still, might have been baking soda. So we'll whisk those up a bit. It means that when we're whisking in the wet ingredients, we don't have to whisk it too much. Because when you add liquid flour, you end up with gluten development, tough cake. We don't want tough cake, we want tender cake. Okay. If I've had a bigger bowl, it would have been better actually. Never mind. Now, dry ingredients, wet ingredients. 2 eggs, our buttermilk, and some oil and some warm water. Don't argue, just follow the recipe. Just whisk up the eggs a bit first. Here's our buttermilk, which is slightly soured. I think it's because the, I don't argue, I follow the recipe, but I think it's because you want the buttermilk to be sour so that it activates the baking soda. That's my thinking. Now we want 3/4 of a cup of warm water. Where's my measuring jug? Here we go. And 1/4 of a cup of oil. Here's 3/4 of a cup of warm water and 1/4 cup of oil. And because it's an oil cake, it's going to keep well, because we're going to cut this into layers tomorrow and ice it. A birthday cake would not be a birthday cake without icing, after all. Okay, adjustment here, wet ingredients into dry ingredients. Mix them up. Damn bowl is a bit small, isn't it? Yeah, we'll cope. Yep, it's a very easy cake, crikey. Makes good cake though. It's also economical because it uses cocoa, not chocolate. You have to mix it a bit to get make sure there's no lumps of dry ingredients. It doesn't even use butter, it uses oil. I mean, you can't get much easier. Here we go, and into our tin. There we go. And into the oven. Now in this oven I find, oh no, I'll stick in the oven and tell you. In this oven I find it takes 42 minutes, but your oven may be different, so keep an eye on it. I'll show you what it's like when it's cooked. Alright, we're back. This is the next day. The cake is here. He domed up slightly when it came out of the oven, and it set down a bit, which is good because it means that it'll be flat when it's iced, which is marvellous. I'm a little concerned that it might be a little soft inside, but we'll find out when we cut it, won't we? Possibly have done with 2 minutes more cooking, but there you go. You never get that one right. Never mind. I've cleverly weighed out 112 grams of butter and softened it in the microwave. I didn't want it with you breathing down my neck, because you know what it's like with melting butter in the microwave. Softening butter in the microwave, it melts. And then I'm going to measure out cream cheese. So this is a sort of a butter, what do we call it? Oh, it's a chocolate icing. There you go. We want 75 grams of cream cheese, and we want that to be soft. I've had it out of the fridge, but I haven't softened that, so that may need to go in the microwave also. We can manage it if we do. 73, not bad. Let's put 2 more grams in. Go on. There you go. And we'll see how that That'll mix. Oh, the butter was certainly soft, wasn't it? See if the cream cheese will mix in. Yep, I think it will. There we go. That's good. Get off there, you devil you. Oh, we can just keep going. Then we put some cocoa in, zeros of scales. We want 50 grams of cocoa. I always use Dutch cocoa. I use the Equa Gold one because I like it. It has a very nice taste. 48, 50. 50 grams of cocoa. Mix it in without making clouds of cocoa everywhere. And then it wants, of course, a disgusting amount of icing sugar. You wonder why it tastes good. It's with all the sugar. We might need to put this in the microwave. You can put it into the microwave at any stage to soften it. Because if it's not quite soft, then I'll use this. Then it'll be hard to mix in all the icing sugar. Ew. No, I think we're going to. We'll put a bit of icing sugar in anyway. We're going to need, what was it, 300 grams. Yep. Mix it in about sort of 3 lots. I'll start it and then I'm going to soften it. Interestingly, so I put in 142. Remember 142 because sometimes the scales go off. And then you say, crikey, how much have I put in? I'll ask you later. Sorry, what I was saying was it takes about a longer time to do the icing and fill the cake as it does, well, at least as long really, as it does to mix up the cake. Mixing up the cake was really easy, but filling it and icing it is the bit which takes time. And if you want to write on it, just say you do, which I don't think I'm going to this time, because it's not actually Bob's birthday cake, it's just called Bob's birthday cake. I'm going to soften this. That should be a lot easier to work. Oh yes, look at it. Yep. If you melt the butter though, this will be fine, but if you do melt the butter at the beginning, it doesn't give quite as good an icing. It can go a bit grainy. Oh, we're remembering 142, but fortunately we didn't have to. Well, now it's saying 139. Anyway, we want 300 total, give or take. I might just put it all in now. There we go. And we want a bit of milk to make sure it's not too firm. We could put the milk in now too, actually. What do we say? We say 25 mils of milk, which is 1 2/3 tablespoons, or that much. Put that in the fridge. Okay. Yeah. Chocolate icing. And you need a disgusting amount of icing to do a cake. We're going to do 3 layers, so 2 lots of icing, 3 layers of cake, 2 layers of icing, plus icing on the top and the sides. You don't want lumps of icing sugar or of cocoa, butter, anything. So fairly well mixed. Because we softened it, it's going to be a good consistency. Here we go. Yeah, it's going to be easy to use. Right, icing is done. Because cream cheese is slightly acid, it doesn't taste as sweet as it should. Good stuff. Now, icing is done, sit in here. We need to cut the cake. Get it out of its tin and cut them. Here we go. Where the paper has gone into it, he's got sort of crags and ravages. There we go. Off the bottom. Okay, just loosen it from that, but leave it on it for now. Now we want to cut into 3 layers. People get anxious about cutting cakes. I don't, I just cut it. But if you are anxious about it, here's how you do it. You can see where we want to go. We want to go here and here, because that would be 1/3 and 2/3. If you are anxious about it, you go around at 1/3. Now it's a bit hard with the chocolate one because you can't see where you've been. You go around at the 1/3 height, and you make a mark, because then you've got a mark, and you can see on each side where you're supposed to be as you go through. But when I normally do it, I don't do it that way. I just cut it because I'm confident. But that's the anxiety way. Now we'll see if he's a bit solid in the middle. No, he looks good. And then the bottom one. What I normally do is I just cut it and I think about where the middle is and I go round. No, cut it around, because that's faster actually. But, and miraculously, it's cut in half. Here's my bottom. I'm going to put it on I do it on the plate which I'm going to serve it on. It might make icing mess around the plate, but I'd rather clean that up than move a finished cake with icing on. That's my system. There we go. So set him in the middle of the cake. The plate is a little bit small, but I'm going to serve it for afternoon tea this afternoon, and I've got cups which match it, so I want it to look cute. I've got plates and cups which match that set, so I want everything to look cute, so I'll go with that. I'm going to wipe my hands to keep everything nice, and then we'll start putting icing on. Let's use a spoon, it'll work. So the icing is a good consistency, and you want a fair old bit on here, like that. Yep. And I am actually going to use the proper thing, which is an offset spatula. See, an offset spatula, it's offset. You can use a flat spatula, that'll work too. Or, of course, rubber spatula will work just as well. But this is the proper one, and it's more fun to use. You think you're being all proper. Yeah. Spread it around and spread it over the edges, because we're using the same icing on the outside. If you're using a different icing on the outside, you'd have to be more careful. And just go inside, but we're using the same icing, so it's fine. Next layer. Repeat. Make sure he's centered. Push him down. More icing. You wonder why it tastes good? Tiny bit more. Spread him around. You can use different fillings because a lot of cakes have cream in the middle. Cream is harder to spread because it'll squish. You often pipe that, but we're using icing. So if you're really cunning, here's what you do. You get a bowl rather, because we don't have an icing turntable. A bowl, just a plain bowl, and you sit the plate on it, because then you get height and you can twirl it around easier, and also it's easier if it's not straight on the bench, but it's not a biggie really. Last layer, centered. Yep. Now we're going to do the sides, and so we get icing. Do the sides. Just put it on. You're normally better to be fairly generous. Like, I'm not the expert, but the cake looks good. If you're doing it really, really properly, then you do a light coat. It's called a crumb coat, and you a very, very light coat. Just a scraping, and you set it so that because if I overwork this, which I'm going to, then the crumbs will come up from the cake. From when we, I mean, it's not from the cake, but it's from where we cut it, where we get the inside of the cake. So, oh look, I'm getting crumbs. Really, for us, it doesn't matter. But if you were a proper cake person, you would be distraught. No, not distraught, you'd be cross. You'd say it was incorrect, and you'd be right. But for us, it's just not an issue. We're doing a rough one. Yeah, just drop the crumbs on the plate. Clean it up as we go. As I say, you can use the rubber spatula for this, or I mean, a knife, but don't use even if you're using a table knife, make sure it's not serrated, because the serrations will show. You can use a spoon too. Spoon won't work as well though, because it's not flat. We'll do that now, and then we'll just check how much icing we've got for the top. I think we've got too much, which is good. If running out of icing is a dreadful thing. Making more is not what you want. Yeah, we got too much. That's good. Yeah. Doing the edges, joins. Because if you were going to write on it, it'd have to be flat. Bob's one I did write on. No, sorry, it wasn't Bob's one. Anyway. So if you want to write on it, use white chocolate. That's it best, not white icing. But melting white chocolate is just get like a Milky Bar. Is it Milky Bar I mean? White chocolate. Small bar of white chocolate. But melting white chocolate, you have to be very careful. You know, when you normally melt chocolate over boiling water, you've got to melt chocolate over warm water, because it will seize very quickly. And then you're dead. You have to go back to pan and Kershaw for another one. Okay, looking good. The only thing I'm a bit dicey about is the very bottom edges where it touches the plate. I haven't done them really well because it gets a bit fiddly. They go all over the plate. Yeah, I think he's good. He or she. Go around a couple of times, check your work. There we go. Yep. And then we have our cake. Bob's birthday cake. Looking good. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.